why they should be destroyed. So in fact, today inshallah we'll find out why, the reason behind this edict, and inshallah we'll find out many other information that will help us better understand the situation in Afghanistan. And after the lecture, we will have a question and answer session, and we will be passing out some piece of paper if you want to write it down, or there's a microphone if you want to come and ask the question yourself. So now I want to call up Brother Rahmatullah, Sayyid Rahmatullah Hashmi, the roving spokesperson or ambassador from Afghanistan.
I was just coming from a meeting with a group of scholars, and the first thing we started there was the statues. And the first thing that we started here was also the statues. It's very unfortunate that how little we see and how little we know. And it really confuses me that whether the people really know that little or not. Nobody has seen the problems of Afghanistan. Nobody saw their problems before. And the only thing that represents Afghanistan today are the statues. The problems of Afghanistan are not new. As you know, that Afghanistan is called the crossroads of Asia. So we are suffering because of our geostrategic location. We have suffered in the 18th century, in the 19th century, and we are still suffering in this century. We have not attacked the British, we have not attacked the Russians, it was them who attacked us. So the problems in Afghanistan you see is not our creation. That reflects the image of the world. If you don't like the image in the mirror, do not break the mirror, break your face. The problems in Afghanistan started in 1979. Afghanistan was a peaceful country, and it was doing its own job. The Russians, along with their 140,000 troops, attacked Afghanistan in the December of 1979, just 21 years ago, stayed there for a decade, killed 1.5 million people, maimed 1 million more people, and 6 million out of 18 million people migrated because of the Russian brutality. Even today, our children are dying because of the landmines that they planted for us. And nobody knows about this. After the Russians left, so during the Russian occupation, on the other side, the American government, the British government, the French, the Chinese, and all of the rest supported the counter-revolutionaries called the Mujahideen. There were 7 parties only in Pakistan and 8 parties in Iran who fought the Russian occupation. And after the Russians left, these parties went into Afghanistan. All of them had different ideologies, a lot of weapons, and instead of having a single administration, they fought in Afghanistan. The destruction that they brought was worse than the destruction the Russians brought. 62,000 people were only killed in the capital, Kabul. Seeing all this chaos and a complete destruction of our country, and I don't have to forget that after the Soviets left, another 1 million people migrated because of the lawlessness that existed in Afghanistan. So 7 million people. So seeing this destruction and lawlessness, a group of students called the Taliban. Taliban is the plural word of students in our language. It may be 2 students in Arabic, but in our language it means students. So a group of students started a movement called the Movement of Students. It first started in a village in the southern province of Afghanistan called Kandahar. It happened when a warlord or a commander abducted 2 minor girls, raped them, and the parents of those girls went to a school and asked the teacher of the school to help them. The teacher of that school, along with his 53 students, finding only 16 guns, went and attacked the base of that commander. After releasing those 2 girls, they hanged that commander, and so many of their people were also hanged. This story was told everywhere, and this was called a heroic story of the Taliban or the students. The BBC also quoted this story. So seeing or hearing this story, many other students joined this movement and started disarming the rest of the warlords who were worse than these. I will not prolong the story. So far, the same students' movement controls 95% of the country. It captured the capital, including the 4 major cities, and only a bunch of those warlords are remaining in the northern corridor of Afghanistan. So, our achievements are as follows. We are in the government for only 5 years, and the following things that we have done, and many of you may not know. The first thing we have done is to reunify a fragmented country. Afghanistan was formerly fragmented into 5 parts. The first thing we have done is to reunify that country. The United Nations, the United States, everybody was confused as to how to reunify that country, and nobody could do it. First thing we have done is to reunify that country. Second thing we have done, which everybody failed to do, was disarming a population. During the war of the Russians and the Americans, I would say, every Afghan got a Kalashnikov, even sophisticated weapons as Stinger missiles, and they even got fighter planes and fighter helicopters. So disarming these people was impossible. The United Nations in 1992 passed an appeal asking for $3 billion to repurchase that arms, to start a process of repurchasing those arms. And certainly because of its impracticability, that plan never materialized. And everybody forgot about Afghanistan. So the second thing we have done is to disarm 95% of that country. And the third thing that we have done is to establish a single administration in Afghanistan which did not exist for 10 years. And the fourth achievement that we have, and is surprising to everybody, is that we have eradicated 75% of all world's opium cultivation. Afghanistan produced 75% of all world's opium. The drug, you know, that opium, the narcotics business. And last year we issued an edict asking the people to stop growing opium. And this year the United Nations Drug Control Program, UNDCP, and their head, Bernard Trahi, announced that there was 0% of opium cultivation. Not at all. And this was not a good news for the United Nations itself because many of them lost their jobs. In the UNDCP, 700 so-called experts were working there, and they got their good salaries, and they never went into Afghanistan. So when we issued this edict, I know they were not happy. And this year they lost their jobs. And this is our fourth achievement. The fifth achievement that we have, but is a little controversial, some of our friends will not know, is the restoration of human rights. Now, you may think that that is the violation of human rights, but from our perspective, that is the restoration of human rights. Because we believe that the fundamental right of a human being is the right to live. Before us, nobody could live peacefully in Afghanistan. The first thing we have given to the people is a secured and peaceful life. Second major thing that we have restored is to give them free and fair justice. You don't have to buy justice, unlike here. You will have justice freely. And you will criticize us for violating women's rights. Now, who knows what happened before us? Only some symbolic schools or symbolic posts were given to some women in a ministry, and that was called the restoration of women's rights. I can see some Afghans living here, and they will agree with me that in the rural areas of Afghanistan, women were used as animals. They were sold, actually. The first thing we have done is to give the self-determination to women. And it happened not in the history of Afghanistan. Throughout the history of Afghanistan, during all the so-called civilized kings or whatever, they didn't give this right to women, so women were sold. They didn't have the right to select their husbands or to reject their husbands. The first thing we have done is to let them choose their future. And you will know that throughout South Asia, women are held under the title of honor killing. It happens when a woman's relation is detected with a man, whether or not the relations are sexual, they are both killed. But now this is not happening in our country. And the third thing that happened only in Afghanistan was women were exchanged as gifts. This was not something religious, this was something cultural. When two tribes were fighting among themselves, then in order to get their tribal issue reconciliated, they would exchange women and then would make or announce reconciliation. And this has been stopped. So these were the fundamental rights of women. We had to start from zero. We couldn't jump in the middle. Now you will ask me about the rights of women's education and the rights of women's work. Unlike what is said here, women do work in Afghanistan. You are right that until 1997, in 1996, when we captured the capital Kabul, we did ask women to stay at home. It didn't mean that we wanted to stay at home forever. But nobody listened to us. We said that there is no law and there is no order. They have to stay at home. They were raped before us, every day. So after we disarmed the people, and after we brought law and order, and now women are working. You are right that women are not working in the Ministry of Defense like here, We don't want our women to be fighter pilots or to be used